Okay, my video cut off when I was talking about my mother. I'm going to finish that up really quick. Looking for this ancestry, my mom, and that they always used like nicknames, so it was really hard to find names a lot because, one of her aunts jabbered all the time, so they called her Jabber. So what was her name? So as I'm going through this ancestry, and I figure out the naming system, because you'll have these names of the siblings repeat, okay? Because there's a specific, look it up, Google it, and look how the name, how people would name their firstborn son, who they would name it after. It's a specific way that they would do it. That's why you have the same names over and over and over. You don't know if it's senior, junior, father. You have three Elizabeths in one family, or three Johns, or James, or whatever it is, but because there's a specific thing. This is passed on. It's traditional. Okay. So, in this point of Southern Illinois, and in rivers, you always have to go back to the Bible's description of the rivers, what they carry, their flow. It's just very, very important. So where these met, you have all of these nations, is what it was. You have all of these nations that met in the spot, that X spot that was on the eclipse. Again, wouldn't have known it had I not just been doing it. Crazy timing, right? And getting such deep into the Indians, trying to find these Indian rolls, okay? Because I was looking for Elizabeth Nation. That was her name. But I kept getting carried to this other Elizabeth Nation that was non-Indian. And so how can I, it was just strange. I found out that the first, my grandfather's grandmother, who was the full-blooded Indian, she had two or three children, which my grandfather's dad was a half-breed, okay? He was a half-breed, but he married into an Irish, Scottish family, which, you guys, this is so important to who you are. I'm telling you, which took me to to Ireland, but through the whole Scottish line, so this when I found out that a lot, they died fairly young, male or female back then. But if a wife had died and the husband remarried, he would, and by chance, just marrying a woman with this exact same name, okay? So, the first Elizabeth died, who was the Indian princess, and then he married another Elizabeth, who was Elizabeth Nation. And anyway, they just assumed maternal mothering of the children, and they were just listed as mother. It's a good thing to remember that on all the census, on everything, they are now the mother, okay? That's why it's very hard to find these records. But this particular area, there's so much here. And it's an area that's like, I just hated, I hate to go down to, but it's like a different world, We're up here, we don't really have a southern accent, but if you go down 2 hours from me, it's Hawaii. It's a total twangy, accent. But so many records, I will tell you, is in these areas. If if you're trying to find anything, go to these Southern Illinois, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Then we had the because it followed the trail, and what I found out is that it was my family was pre-colonial, okay, and it was incredible. I mean, but mixed with the Indian. And see, the Indians, we all know, they're, I look at them as one, is a earthly, heavenly, an earthly, heavenly tribe, okay, of angelics. I'm going to say it that way. I may not be exact, but this is how I have to place it in my mind, okay? So, from one land, you know, it's your layers. It's your heavenly layers, but placed down here, okay? So the Indians here in this land are one, different ones. Then you have your Nordics, okay? And you have to take all of these nationalities, all of these places, and you take them up higher levels, okay? Take them up to your heavenly realms. And these are your nations. These are your tribes. These are your legions, okay? Because they multiply, right? It's the legions now. So we are just on an earthly level of understanding the heavenly realms, okay? The angelic realms. And so it's our history here and our lineage. It explains the multitude that ended up sprouting from there, okay? So, oh, it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful. But these, crazy too, read, I'm telling you, if you go back and read, and I said this a couple of years ago, my sister and I did this and had a blast one night. We just read all of these articles that we could find from the 1800s, even the 1700s, anything we could find, archives, and read, and we just laughed so hard. They were so funny because they just tell everything. But I'd found this book on one of my mother's maiden name, family name, and it was picked in this county in Kentucky to do a book on, okay? Because they were one of the founding fathers, but I mean a founding name family, okay? Because there were so many offshoots that came from this family. It was crazy. I had no idea. And when I said I'm the last of the direct descendants, it's me. My son Taylor is my third child. He is the last male. It's crazy. Crazy. It explains so much. So, the dates, okay, of each journey, you know, where they stopped, what they did. But as I find this book and I'm reading it, I have to tell you, I'm cracking up because I didn't mean to laugh, but I had to. Because it's the stories of the forts, and I mean, what they had to go through. But it was just so relative, okay, way back. She was scalped. She was tomahawked, they called it, tomahawked. She wasn't tomahawked once, she was tomahawked twice. She was scalped twice. I walk around all day going, not once, but twice. I can't help it, it's a thing, you know. Anytime somebody asked me something, I said, no, not once, but twice. And in one part of this book, she said, well, she must have been quite a gal because she survived scalping not once, but twice. I mean, these what they went through, it was just unbelievable. And the whole scalping and what that is. And if you go biblically to the hair shaving, you know, the baldness of the hair, and it's taking something that was divine, heavenly, right? a reason to something that was earthly and did not understand, and what the scalping was all about. This is my point of the difference of understanding earthly to heavenly. It's like so these legions, these tribes, these clans, okay, they had to, many of them were different, and as I said, if you go back and study the Vikings, and what is it all about? But if you follow their trail and how they went back and through England and then France and conquered and really ended up in Russia. Russia that was their domain, and Prussia and all through there. It's so interesting when you look at it as a heavenly layers, okay? Look at these as a sort of heavenly angelic tribes, okay? Legions, right? And their progression and everything. So, but the Nordics, I mean, the fighting, and they had no value on human life whatsoever, none. You know that. I mean, it just pillaged and they went for the silver and the gold. See, the silver and the gold, and there's so many layers there to that silver and gold hunt. Life didn't mean anything to them, but the metals did. They wanted that silver and gold. And they killed babies. They couldn't. I mean, they didn't do it. They had no association to it. They had no self-awareness. They had no empathy. What? Wow, what do you mean? I killed that baby, so what? Big deal. Who cares? What? I raped that woman 10 times, so what? Who cares? What? They just didn't have it. And really, it's the story of them learning. Okay? So who was this group? And here you have, from up north, high north, you have the fair, the blonde, the fair, the blue eyes, the lighter. And then here, you have the Native Americans, the olive skin, the dark eyes, the dark. All this means something. People talk about the blood types and all of that, and I'm sure that's all in this, okay? But I'm giving you an easy way to look at this, what this is, okay? Because it all fits. It all fits. And these are and so when you go back to history where, it's where we consider, non-Middle East, not Israel, but it is. It's wherever God's people are. Understand, remember, he had 70 names, okay? So, he had 70 names. I either talked about the 70, the previous video, or the next video I'm doing. So I'm kind of, I got cut off on one of my videos, and so I'm just tailing it now. So this 70, you always relate, those numbers are not separately. They're not, they are to be grouped. When you study and you see, okay, come on, go potty. Granddaughter, when you see the 70, put all the 70 that is mentioned. You got 70 that were taken when the temple, when Nebuchadnezzar, invaded Israel, the temple, right? You had Daniel and that group. There were 70 of them that got sent to Babylon, okay? So go through the Bible and find the groups of 70, okay? It's so important. It gives you an idea of how to layer, okay? Because, okay, how am I going to say this? Wherever Israel, okay, is wherever his blessing is, his anointing, his people are, okay? Wherever he sends them, wherever he puts them, that is Israel, okay? Oh, she's got to go potty. Oh, I'll be right back. Do another one.